Hey guys, how's it going? Eli here, back with another video where today we're going to be focusing on some major news that just recently happened in the Pokemon market and how, in my personal take, it's going to play an overall effect into what's going on in the grading process as well as the authentication process in the Pokemon world. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So for those people that don't know, as always, doing weekly giveaways. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to bump up what we're going to be giving for our weekly giveaways from 6 packs to 3 separate winners to now 8 packs, which is going to be super duper exciting. I'm really excited that we're going to potentially be able to hit that mark. Yesterday, I actually had a record-breaking most subscribers in one day. I had 32 plus subscribers, I think, in one day. Most prior to that was 26, so I can't thank you guys enough. Really, it truly does mean a lot. I mean, having 3 or 4% growth in one, single day that's massive, So I can't thank you guys enough for the support. Can't thank those enough who stopped by and asked me tons of questions on my Q&As, which I'm going to be doing on Tuesdays and Thursdays regularly. So seriously, you guys, I wouldn't be able to do it without you. All you have to do to enter into these giveaways is be subscribed to the channel, leave a like, and comment down below on any of the 3 videos I post each and every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And as always, we announce the winners on Mondays. Once again, of course, up to 3 winners, up to 3 possibilities to enter because you can like and comment on each video for an entry. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's just jump right into the video. So there's going to be 2 main topics we're going to be talking about, and this is going to be the first one, which I actually had a lot of people ask me questions about my thoughts and my takes on what is going on with eBay. Of course, I gave a little bit of a take on stream, but I was very unfamiliar with what was going on specifically. I looked into it a little bit more, so now I can come to you guys with my formed opinion. A little bit of it is going to be reserved, but I'm going to still, of course, give you my overall thought process behind what I think. So for those people that don't know, as of 2 days ago, this was actually 3 days ago, when this article was posted early in the morning, eBay will now authenticate trading cards worth $750 or more. So for those people that obviously don't know, we did a video on the channel, and of course many other channels did, in regards to what happened with Logan Paul and how he ended up losing $3.6 million off of buying Pokemon. Obviously, a lot of people said it potentially was a stunt because, it was clearly fake. How could you be so dumb? He got his money back, yada. Regardless of whether you think it was fake or not, it was still huge news that brought a lot of speculation into the Pokemon market. Well, with that, you see eBay has come out with this new service, which for those people that also don't know, eBay's actually been doing a service like this for a while now. They've done it with stickers, they've done it with handbags. So them bringing it into the Pokemon market, as well as specifically just trading card market in general, it's not really that surprising because they've seen, as we can read going down in this article, I've already read it, read multiple other articles, but as you guys will see as we go through this article, the categories which saw the most growth during the first half of last year, which was a growing total of 1,797% overall growth in the card market, was soccer 852%, Pokemon 536, Marvel 437, and golf 436. Kind of surprising that golf is so popular. Makes sense, soccer is so popular because it's one of the most popular sports in the world, but golf, really? Anyway, before I get absolute hated on because, hey, how come he doesn't like golf trading cards? But anyway, with that being said, it's showing that, of course, there's been a real market, especially in 2020, 2021. We've seen a absolute ton of growth in the overall Pokemon market. So it obviously makes sense for them to come out with this type of service. So for those people that want to know what's kind of the depths of the service, we're going to go through and take a look at this article. Of course, if you want to read it yourself, techcrunch.com is where I am getting this source of information from. Of course, I always like to cite my sources whenever I talk to you guys about any kind of stuff. Online market, eBay is once again expanding. The service will now be able to authenticate cards worth at least $750 from collectible card games, as well as sports cards and other non-sports cards. By the middle of this year, the service will grow to include graded, autographed, and patch cards sold for $250 and higher as well. These additionally broaden eBay's abilities to assure customers of the authenticity of high-value items, including sneakers, watches, handbags. Like I said before, they've already done this before. Like other verticals where authenticity is available, eBay saw the value in adding support for trading cards due to volume of activity in the category. Obviously, this is something that we've talked about. And what's interesting about this too, as far as people know, they're like, oh, well, of course, it's eBay. What does eBay know as far as it goes about overall, trading cards? Well, one of the partners that they actually got together with. As you guys can read here, the eBay's website noted that the trading card authentications are being handled by experts at Certified Collectibles Group Affiliation, aka CGC Trading Cards. And Certified Sports Guarantees, CSG. So it's not as if, CGC is obviously a reputable, whether you like to use CGC or not. I know a lot of people have recently really started to like it because it is more affordable and it's been open, obviously, compared to other grading services such as BGS and PSA. And so CGC is a reputable grading source. And so as far as it goes when it comes to the authentication process, I think the way in which they're doing it, of course, I think is a good thing. Now, of course, with that, there's been a lot of opinions on both sides. A lot of people think it's good because they've had this process before with sneakers and handbags. Process is typically really quick, smoothless, very quick and smooth. Just if you want it to be authenticated, you send it into a certain address. They review it, takes them not too long from the sounds of it, and then they just ship it back to you. If it's fake, they keep it, you get a refund on your order. So, and that's one of the things that I think could be a valuable asset. Now, the question that I really have that they haven't really expanded upon is when they say Pokemon cards, grading cards, non-sports cards, we haven't really gotten an insight into whether that also means sealed product. Because in my personal opinion, although, of course, the authentication of individual Pokemon cards is important because people now more than ever have gotten really good at faking it. More than ever, in my personal opinion, though, if I were to go take a card and get it sent off to PSA, and it's my own single card, it's going to be authenticated by PSA versus if I'm going to go buy one online, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to assume that, the card in and of itself is the correct PSA graded card. I can send it in. They can probably verify it pretty easily. I honestly could probably verify it pretty easily because it's gone through the PSA authentication process. Of course, with that being said, you can, of course, break slabs and, switch out, real graded cards. So that is a concern. But in my personal opinion, I think, and of course, I'm going to hold reservations on, if this is true or not. But I think from what it's being stated as far as it stands right now, this is really going to be focused on just individual cards and not sealed product. And in my personal opinion, I think sealed product is a lot bigger of an issue. So especially considering, once again, going back, looking at Logan Paul. Logan Paul obviously had the issue where he, like I said, whether it was faked or not, the verification process on that was poorly done. And on top of that as well, when it comes to, a lot of speculation. And I had a lot of people ask me this question, what my thoughts were on investing in vintage, specifically sealed. And that was kind of my biggest concern. I told people, I said, vintage sealed is a good investment. It's a safe investment. It might not yield as strong of, percentage points as long-term ultra modern because it's not going to hit as high of a volatility point as a lot of ultra modern product because, it's going to be a lot harder for $400,000 to move 10% than it is for $100 to move 10%. You know what I mean? And so with that being said, that was my kind of biggest concern, was just what is the authentication process? Because as we've seen with a lot of larger YouTubers, we've seen this with Pokerev, we've seen this with Logan Paul, we've obviously had other YouTubers kind of have their stories of just their process of going through and potentially having fake product or even having fake product. And so that's just one of those things that's honestly, in my personal opinion, a huge concern. Obviously, this is a step in the right direction. Obviously, CGC Trading Card Company is a, reputable site. One thing I will say that to kind of give pushback outside of my biggest concern is the counter arguments for a lot of what people are saying in regards to this process. A lot of concerns people have is, there's been, people will say, well, if I send it in, what are the odds that they're going to mess with it and they're going to potentially end up damaging the card? Well, as far as it goes at the end of the day, when I'm sending in my cards to PSA to begin with, I'm playing the same exact risk, right? If I have a card that I send in, and that's why I think honestly, I think it's important to, before you send in cards to PSA, this is specifically for PSA, not for eBay, but before you send in cards, I think it's important to take pictures for liability. I think that's super important. Obviously, you have that whole package of insurance you get if it gets lost in the mail, but once the process has gone through that and has fully been delivered to them, then obviously the liability for damage becomes on them and no longer it being lost in the mail, but it's not going to be covered specifically if you haven't bought an insurance on your card, which, how are you going to be able to buy insurance on your card when you're specifically sending it out to an individual? And so you hand off, the you can't technically hand off the liability to them, but as far as it goes, if they damage the card and send it back to you, then at that point it's like you're gonna have zero form of like verification process for yourself to determine whether or not it was truly in that condition when you sent it off to them, which is why I think, taking pictures, being able to hold, grading companies accountable if that's something you're truly, interested in doing. Of course, for some people, it's not worth it. Obviously, regardless of whether you think some of the processes of PSA, CGC, BGS is shady or not, it's just kind of the way in which things work in the current system. And that's just something that's very frustrating, obviously, for a lot of people. Personally, I've had a good experience with PSA in regards to them handling my cards, but I know, obviously, a lot of people have had horror stories. So, of course, always take everything with caution, and please, of course, as always, take everything I say with a grain of salt. With that being said, going into it, that's kind of been the main biggest concern, but I think this is not something that's, any new in regards to just sending in to graded companies. I don't see it being any different than if you were to have that happen with eBay. Not to mention the fact of the matter, eBay has, in my personal opinion, a really good customer service. A really good customer service on top of the fact of the matter that they're very good at buyer protection, seller protection. So if we're talking about PSA, I don't know how many times. I think I've only once been on PSA hold line where I've talked to them for less than an hour. And then, of course, if something does happen, you have to go through this long, drawn-out process. Versus with eBay, when it comes to verification process and, getting on hold with a representative, it's usually pretty quick for me, 10 to 15 minutes at most. And then on top of that as well, they've usually been pretty good about handling, product being lost, or just any sort of customer resolution. And so my personal opinion, I would look at this more on a step in the right direction. I still have a lot of major concerns, but at the end of the day, I would really just give pushback to those people that are concerned about them potentially damaging their cards. Because as far as it goes, obviously, you can make an argument that there's going to be a record, of course, with the images, and it's going to be, of course, harder for you to prove it because you're not taking pictures if you do have it sent to you, unless it's sent to you and then immediately sent back to them, so there's that kind of issue with it. But like I said, kind of more or less giving pushback to it. I think people are getting a little too worked up or wound up about it, especially considering the fact of the matter is if you don't, have any fear of your card not being authentic, then what you can easily do is you can just receive the card, and then if you receive the card and you say to yourself, this might not be authentic, then you can just send it to eBay. So it's not like you have to go through the specific process of immediately sending it to eBay and then it goes back to you. You can do it the other way around from what it seems. Of course, I could be 100% wrong, but this is just what it seems like from this article and what I've heard on the news in regards to what they're going to be doing. Now, next part of today's news is going to be the final point. Just two big kind of topics for the news. Another thing that got brought up yesterday, and this, of course, once again, is in regards to grading companies as well as middleman grading services. So for those people who don't know Graded Gym, I've been following Graded Gym since early 2020. They are a middleman authentication service, which basically specializes. Sorry, sometimes I just talk too fast for myself. They specialize in basically being a middleman service for you and PSA specifically. Now, of course, what do you mean by a middleman service between the two? Well, typically they have bulk discounts that they get specifically for sending in to PSA, not to mention they have connections with specific PSA graders that they can send the product to, as well as be able to offer discounted rates to people without having to buy a membership. Typically speaking, what they've informed a lot of customers at is they are able to get your product back to you a lot sooner. And on top of that as well, they also have a process to where if they personally believe that your card is not going to be getting X graded rating. So let's say, for example, like, hey, I want my card to at least get a 9 or higher, and they take a look at your card and they think, no, this is going to get an 8 or lower, then they'll just hold it on to it for you. I don't know specifically if they charge you extra for that. I don't know the full details, but anyway, they're just a middleman service altogether from everything I just explained to you. Now, one of the biggest issues that recently happened, obviously I'm just showing you their Facebook page, which I don't even have access to it, but thanks to actually Reddit, someone took an IMGUR link with a screenshot telling us everything that recently happened in the news. And we're going to go through the article and what they posted on what was their Facebook page. Hey everyone, some of you may have seen, unfortunately, a package sent to PSA with raw card submissions was declared lost by FedEx in mid-April 2021. Firstly, I'd like to clarify, however, that any submitter still getting updates, emails for their submission and is unaffected. This only affects standard February 21st orders. I'd like to say sorry for the delay in communications from Graded Gem to all submitters involved. Over the past 8 months, we've been battling with our broker, our underwriter, and the insurance provider to make a payment for the submission, and it has been an uphill struggle to get the insurance to take any contributions as they claim Graded Gem to be a bailee on legal grounds of ownership and responsibility. We finally reached a partial settlement with the past month, with which Graded Gem topped up to our total original claim value. After careful consideration, Graded Gem has decided to put an extra 10% of claim values as a gratuity. The insurance value will be given are made from raw cards and median sold listings of individual cards from eBay dating back to April 2021. The insurance company needed a way to calculate the claim as a whole, and basically they questioned the authenticity of all values, not to mention on public-facing markets. I understand this is a shock to all submitters involved, but I would like to say we pushed and used every persuasive argument we could to get you the claim value as high as possible, but due to the difficulty in valuing raw cards, the above calculation was agreed upon between us and the insurance company to move the claim forward. There's no denying many submitters will be at a loss due to the expectation increase of value from grading cards, and also how this claim has been calculated. As for they could have sent poor condition cards, so we'll likely get a fair evaluation, but if they were gem mint cards, it would be less fair. Now, of course, I could, go on to read as far as it goes a little bit more of this article, but you kind of just get the main point about this. Obviously, this was pretty big news in the regards to the world of the middleman, authentication process, grading services, whatever you want to call it. And, this is big news. I mean, the fact of the matter that a lot of people send in their cards to them be graded. And if I'm correct specifically, someone clarified this with me yesterday. This is the specific UK version. Obviously, Z&G Emporium has, he's partnered with Graded Gem. And he's, if I'm correct, living out of Arizona. I know he moved not that long ago, and he's kind of partnered with them. I haven't kind of done a little bit of an update look into if they're having any sort of the same issues in the USA. But regardless of the fact of the matter, this is still very, very important for a lot of people to be aware of, take into consideration, especially if you do decide to use a middleman grading process, the middleman grading process, because if you do want those discounted rates, you got to understand that there is a lot more liability that has to go with it. Obviously, they said they're going to try their best to fight for you to make as much back as they can as possible, but it's honestly just a really crappy situation. Whether a lot of people want to say that they aren't doing enough, or whether they want to say that they're scammers and they haven't posted a YouTube video in over 6 to 8 months, you can obviously make those arguments, but at the end of the day, I think it's just an unfortunate situation. Especially consider the fact of the matter that you have to go through this whole, appropriate, insurance process, which it sounds like from what a lot of people have been saying, as well as this article, they might not have properly been insured, which of course comes with a lot of liability with that. You could see a potential lawsuit come out of this. Of course, I have absolutely no idea truly what is going to be the end result of everything to come with this. All I know is it's a really crappy situation, and ultimately this is just going to boil down to the main topic of today's video, the two main things, which is of course going to be the main clickbait title slash image of what is the biggest issue that hopefully is going to need to be solved in the Pokemon company, which is there is so much concern still in regards to buying Pokemon product, whether it be the process of getting authenticated, whether it be the overall cards themselves being authenticated. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you've got companies that specialize in helping you get your cards graded and authenticated. You have companies that specialize and going and making sure that your graded cards are authenticated. So it's like there's an authentication process to the authentication process. So it's like this huge, just absolute big ordeal, and it's really frustrating. And obviously, like eBay is trying to come out and resolve a lot of these issues, but it just really goes to the bigger picture of just some of the issues that the Pokemon market, as well as other grading card markets. Grading card markets is saying just Pokemon is just one of them. Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, just card card games that just you can send in your cards to be graded. Sorry if that sounded really confusing, but anyway, basically, once again, the whole point I'm making with this is it's just an overlapping issue that just seems to be like there's got to be better solutions to this. You know, of course, eBay is stepping in, like I said, and I've already reiterated this like 3 or 4 times. Definitely the hope and expectation is that this could be a progress in the right direction. But at the end of the day, you know, it's still got a lot of work to do, especially when we're having just so frequent news happen. So frequently there's been news that's been happening recently in regard to just a lot of issues that are not being addressed. And it really just puts a lot of fear and speculation in the market. Now, of course, you want to make the argument, do you think this is playing an overall effect on market prices? You could make that argument, of course. In my personal opinion, what's even more important is it just really makes it so that, you know, it's just harder to buy older cards, specifically, you know, sealed product when it comes to the authentication verification process, because it's just it's just a really crappy situation at the end of the day. So it's not the best news to hear about today. Obviously, we like to see more hopeful news. eBay, with that being said, of course, in my opinion, is still somewhat of hopeful news, but it's in response to a lot of negative news that, you know, the Pokemon company has been going on, and, you know, having to deal with, as well as, you know, a lot of other secondhand dealers have been, you know, trying to address, such as eBay and, you know, a lot of other auction sites. But yeah, no, and you know what's bad too, when I have a lot of, you know, friends and family members reaching out to me and they're like, Eli, is this true? Did this really happen? I don't collect Pokemon, obviously, but I just heard it was such big news. And it's like, when it starts to really trickle into the other world of people that aren't Pokemon collectors, then that really scares a lot of people off when it comes to really getting involved in the, you know, grading process. Of course, whether you want to look at that as a good or a bad thing, I think overall you want a positive outlook on the market, as well as for those who have been in the market for a while, you want a safe authentication process without having to go through this rabbit hole and dealing with all just the pain that comes with just everything in between of getting your card, you know, graded and then getting it reviewed for being graded and so on and so forth. But as far as it goes for today's video, those are kind of the 2 main articles that we took a look at. As always, we are doing weekly giveaways. All you have to do to enter is leave a like, comment down below, and be subscribed to the channel. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers. Once we hit that mark, all 3 winners will be receiving 8 packs instead of 6 packs. And I can't once again thank you guys enough for helping us to get to that milestone. I really wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. I really appreciate everything you guys have done for me. Of course, you can enter into 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, allowing you, of course, you know, just leave a comment and leave a like on each one of those 3 videos, which allows you to enter in multiple times, as well as multiple opportunities to win, since we do have 3 winners. But as far as it goes for today's video, thank you guys all so much for watching. Please, of course, as always, let me know if you have any questions, concerns, or anything you want to have a discussion about. Of course, Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to be our new kind of Q&A segment, and then we're eventually going to transition into a podcast segment where I'm going to be bringing on people, and we're going to be having discussions in regards to everything going on in the Pokemon world. That's a little bit a ways away, but still something that I've been talking about recently that I'm going to be transitioning into doing in the near future. But thank you guys all so much for watching. Until then, I will see you guys on Monday. Peace.